For decades, he has been a defining force in Southeast Asian politics. Mahathir Mohamad served longer than any other Prime Minister in Malaysia's history, a towering figure who led the country uninterrupted for 22 years from 1981 to 2003, overseeing an economic transformation that reshaped the nation's future. From lifting living standards and expanding the middle class to modernising Malaysia's infrastructure, symbolised by the iconic Petronas Towers, Mahathir left an indelible mark on his nation. In 2018, at the age of 92, he staged one of the most unexpected political comebacks in modern history, becoming the world's oldest elected leader.
Saya Mahathir bin Mohamad.
A former doctor turned political heavyweight, Mahathir returned to power in a landslide as Malaysia was engulfed in what would become the world's largest corruption scandal. With a political career spanning 75 years, his story remains as polarising as it is extraordinary. Now, just days away from turning 100, the elder statesman sat down with ITV News for an in-depth interview. As he approaches this special milestone, we began by asking how the nonagenarian is feeling.
Well, I'm still 99. Until I am 100, I think, I don't know how I would feel. And what I'm feeling now is that I'm 99.
And look, you're a man who seems to never stop working. You took charge of government for the second time at the age of 92. How have you been able to do this? What's your secret?
No secret, really. If you're fortunate enough not to suffer from fatal diseases, you should survive. So without those fatal diseases, a person should really live a long time, provided, of course, that he has a certain discipline.
So discipline is the real secret. I mean, tell us a little bit how does your day look like now at the age of 99?
You should behave as if you're okay, you're well, you're doing work, you're meeting people, talking, writing, reading, because the muscles of the body and the brain regresses if you don't use them.
And what about your diet? Is diet important? What are you
diet, nothing. I eat everything, although I do have some sugar in my blood and that, but I eat not too much, not to put on weight. I have kept my weight at about 62 kilos for the past 40 years.
From an economy once rooted in tin, rubber and palm oil to a high-tech export powerhouse, Mahathir oversaw Malaysia's rapid industrialisation, driving aggressive privatisation through the 1990s. But what does this two-time Prime Minister, whose economic views evolved to balance protectionism with free trade, make of two-time President Donald Trump's tariffs? In April, the US President Donald Trump imposed a universal 10% baseline tariff on all imports into the US on what he called Liberation Day. His administration hit Malaysia with a 24% levy, which has since been put on hold, subject to negotiations. The status of that still remains unclear, but what will tariffs of this kind mean for Malaysians?
Yeah, of course it hurts Malaysia, but to me, how it affects America is much more important. When you apply high tariffs for imports, you are actually causing the cost of living in America, in that country, going up very high. And this America cannot last for long with high tariffs because the people will suffer. So I've given Trump 3 months before he negotiates to reduce the tariff.
You're saying he might U-turn. If he doesn't U-turn, I mean, what's the worst case scenario here?
I think the rest of the world will have to adjust to doing business without America. And this can be done by others. most of the products of America can be produced by others.
Malaysia's current Prime Minister has acknowledged that Malaysia relies heavily on the USA for trade and investment. What is the alternative, the tangible alternative to the USA?
The alternative is that we have to accept that this is America's new policy. We have to accept that we can do much trade with America. We have to build up trade with other countries.
Like which countries?
Like China, like Russia, like other countries. And of course, we suffer. For some time, we will suffer. But if there is no America, well, the world has to go on.
The United States has long been one of Malaysia's biggest foreign investors and a key strategic partner during Mahathir's first tenure. But with a shifting global order, the power dynamic is changing, says the veteran leader.
China will have to be playing a very big role, even become the dominant country in the world, the number one country in the world. It's a big country. It has 1.4 billion people, very hardworking people, very clever people, very able people. So China will become a big market for the world and certainly for Malaysia.
Are you comfortable with China taking on a bigger role in the world?
We have had relations with China for 2,000 years. China never conquered us. The Portuguese came, within 2 years they conquered us. I think any country which develops well can prosper, can dominate the world. But now it was at one time the British controlled the whole world. At some stage they failed, and America took over. And America became the number one country in the world. Now the time is for a change, another change to take place. And that other change would be, as far as I can see, China. China will become the number one country in the world.
And there have been numerous reports suggesting China might seek to invade Taiwan. Are you suspecting that they might do this? And if so, are you happy with that?
China could have invaded Taiwan long ago. It has the power to invade Taiwan. But Taiwan is useful to China. Taiwan invests a lot in China. Taiwan brings in technology. It's not China's wish to conquer Taiwan. We have been saying that China would invade Taiwan a long time ago, but it has not. In fact, America decided to provoke China by having this, the speaker visit Taiwan. What for? Why? Because they want to increase tension between Taiwan and China, and when they increase tension, then Taiwan would have to arm itself. And who provides the arm? Who sells the arm? America.
America, I'm sure, would say, look, we're interested in the independence and sovereignty on Taiwan, and that's why we all support them. Do you think that's a fair argument?
What happens if China decides that the Caribbean and Venezuela and all that should be protected by China? Would America accept it? Why should America claim that Southeast Asia belongs to America and it is America's job to protect Southeast Asia?
Mahathir has never shied away from criticising US foreign policy, even amid strong trade ties. But for him, the ongoing crisis in Gaza has struck a new chord. How would you characterise what is happening in Gaza at the moment?
It's genocide. And it's genocide because America is a hypocritical nation. Talks about human rights and everything else, but supports genocide by Israel by providing money, by providing weapons to Israel to kill Gazan people. America is as guilty of genocide as Israel.
What is your view, therefore, of Benjamin Netanyahu?
He's an animal. He doesn't think like human beings. He thinks that killing people is a solution to so-called safety of Israel. He should be in jail.
You pride yourself on being a leader of the Muslim world, and a lot of people around the Muslim world revere you and respect you. So tell me, don't you think what's going on in Gaza signifies a failure of the Muslim world?
I admit that Muslims are to be blamed also. We call ourselves Muslim, but we don't follow the teachings of Islam. Yes, we pray, we fast and all that, but there is in the Quran, it gives you in detail the way of life of a Muslim. And if you follow the way of life of a Muslim as found in the Quran, this situation will not happen.
So what's your message then to the governments of Saudi Arabia, Qatar, the Emirates, the nations that arguably have the means to do something?
God has given us the wealth, but we are not following the teachings of Islam.
Do you condemn Russia's illegal invasion of Ukraine and annexation of Crimea in 2014?
NATO tries to get all the Warsaw Pact countries to join NATO and threaten Russia. If Ukraine joins NATO, it means that NATO would have their armed forces just next to Russia.
It sounds like you're justifying the invasion then. You think the Russian invasion was justified of Ukraine?
Well, the Russian protested over Ukraine's joining NATO.
In one aspect of this interview, you said you're not someone who likes wars. You've been quick to condemn Israeli aggression. You've said the USA are complicit in what's happening in Gaza. But why won't you then condemn Russian aggression?
It's because Russia was provoked. Why not sit down and have a negotiation as to whether Ukraine should be a member of NATO or not? Listen to Russia's position.
But the Israelis would say they were provoked with the attacks on October the 7th.
The Israelis are not behaving like ordinary people.
Surely this is a failure for Vladimir Putin. I mean, almost 1 million of his soldiers dead, according to one report. Many hundreds of thousands of civilians across Russia and Ukraine dead. This is a failure of Putin, is it not?
Yeah, this is what NATO wants to see. NATO provokes a war between Ukraine and Russia so that Russia will pay a very high price for attacking Ukraine. But NATO paid nothing. NATO simply provided the money and the arms for Ukraine to fight, but it is Ukraine which has to bear the full brunt of the war. Ukraine is now flattened by the war with Russia.
But would you agree with that characterization, that this is a loss, this is a failure of Putin?
Russia may lose 1 million people or 10 million people, but Russia is one country that has not been conquered by many attempts.
What's your response to people who will accuse you of having double standards in this regard, being very critical of the West when it appears as though they're being aggressive, but refuse to condemn Russia?
No, Russia was protesting against Ukraine joining NATO. How can I blame Russia? Because they were provoked. But who provoked the Israelis?
The Israelis would argue Hamas provoked them on October the 7th.
Or they are blaming Hamas. But for 70 years, the Israelis have taken Palestinian territory, arrested thousands of Palestinians, kept them kept captive without trial, killed many of them, and oppressed them.
And what of the United Kingdom, a nation whose ties with Malaysia deepened under Mahathir and Margaret Thatcher's leadership? The Iron Lady once hailing him as a truly remarkable national leader who brought Malaysia to the forefront of regional and global affairs.
The UK is a poodle. It just submits to what America says. It is no longer the great power that it was once. So I don't think much about the UK.
On another humanitarian crisis, the plight of the Rohingya, Mahathir was adamant Malaysia had done enough. The UNHCR, the UN's refugee agency, describes it as one of the world's largest protracted refugee situations. Why has Malaysia become so less welcoming of this persecuted minority?
We have no capacity. What do you expect us to do? Attack Myanmar? We can't do that. We can't do that. The world can act, but not Malaysia alone. But we are trying to persuade. We are going to meet the Myanmar people and try and persuade them that this is wrong. But so far we have not been successful.
Understood. I mean, that's I guess, a broader policy-related conversation to have. But the here and now, in terms of what's happening, in January, 2 boats with nearly 300 Rohingya refugees was turned away from Malaysia. Shouldn't Malaysia be doing more to protect these people, the ones that show up at their border?
We have already done a lot. We have a lot of Rohingya people. It's time other countries also bear solve the problem. It's not just Malaysia.
Despite being hailed by his supporters as a reformer, an economic visionary and the father of modernisation, Mahathir remains a deeply polarising figure. He's widely criticised for his authoritarian approach, particularly his crackdown on political opponents, most notably Anwar Ibrahim, the current Prime Minister, as well as for making remarks that have been condemned as anti-Semitic and racially inflammatory. He championed the idea of Malay supremacy, giving lucrative business opportunities to select Malay businessmen, which critics called cronyism. Do you accept any of these criticisms?
They can accuse me of anything, but the thing is, you have to prove it.
The Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission launched a probe last April, which involved you and your sons. Why is it investigating you?
Well, they want to put pressure on me. You see, the problem is that the present government would like to put me in jail, but they cannot find an excuse. They said I stole money. I took action in the court, asked them to prove that I stole money. They asked for extension of time. I've given them extension of time. It's not 2 years. They still couldn't prove that I've stolen any money, simply because I didn't steal any money. And they couldn't get at me, they went for my children.
Are you worried? Are you concerned? Do you fear that you might be put in prison?
Yeah, I have my worries, but worries are one thing. But my worry is mainly about my own people, my own race. I'm a Malay, this is my country, I work for my country, not for myself. What happens to me doesn't matter. I know I'm going to die soon, but that I cannot solve. But what I can do while I'm still alive, I will do.
Over the decades, Mahathir has been called many things, but lazy is not one of them. Even at 99, Malaysia's oldest surviving former Prime Minister keeps a relentless work schedule. So what does a man who received his country's highest honour, the title of Tun, and was once named one of Time magazine's 100 most influential people, have to say about his legacy?
I don't care about that. You know, the first thing I did when I became a minister is to forbid using my name to name anything at all as a reminder of my service. I don't want my name to be remembered by people. They can forget about me. I'm just passing through.
You don't want to outline any achievements that you've made. Many people will say there are many, but fair enough. Do you have any regrets? Any regrets throughout your tenure as Prime Minister and the decades you've been active in Malaysian politics?
Looking back, there are many things that I think my decision was not right, proven later to be not right. I thought that after serving for 21 years, I have to step down because I need to have young people take over from me. I did that, and I thought that the policies will continue, but the moment I stepped down, they changed policies, and of course, the country which was known at one time as an Asian tiger has now become a kleptocracy.
Okay, so regret is that you stepped down too early, you say? Possibly.
And lots of people stay longer.
What do you want your legacy to be when you leave this world?
I don't care.
Really? You don't care at all about anything?
I don't care. I'll be gone.
But what if it's tarnished? I mean, you said you've got people in government now who are coming after you. You feel as though you're being victim of that. Aren't you concerned that they will tarnish your reputation?
Yes, I've seen that done already. Already they have tried to tarnish my reputation. I don't mind. They can do what they like. What reality is, what the truth is still there.
Dr. Mahathir Mohamad, thank you so much. Thank you for your time.
You're welcome.